The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I was just talking to Jonas Jackson behind the glass, and I said, it's amazing how fast this hour goes. I think that's about my speed, too, 1 hour. Here's a friend of mine, good friend of mine, who is a great writer. Has written great books. He's written for the News and the Post. He's writing on the Internet now. And since I don't go on the Internet, I have no way to go on the Internet. He's going to tell us exactly who he works for. He is Bob Klapisch. Clap, how you doing?
I'm doing great, John, and I want to thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor.
My pleasure. You're going to be great. Who do you write for?
Well, John, since I was at the Bergen Record, for those who need to catch up on me, that I was at the Bergen Record after the Daily News. I was at the Bergen Record for almost 20 years until 2017, and now I'm at what was the Newark Star Ledger, and as you mentioned, we are no longer printing a physical newspaper anymore. It's the state of the industry. We are online only at nj.com, but it is the Star Ledger. It's the biggest outlet in New Jersey, and I'm still doing my thing. I mean, I used to cover the Mets and the Yankees, but for the Ledger, there's so many Yankee fans in Jersey, especially northern Jersey. All my time is spent in the Bronx. So that's my area of expertise these days.
You know, Bob, I generally do the Phil Cuzzy dinner. It's for ALS in the wintertime. And everyone there is a Yankee fan. Let me put it that way. Everyone. North Jersey is a hotbed for Yankee fans. I thought of this. I'm going to plug a Bob Klapisch book, and if you're listening and you love baseball, you have to get this book. It's the book you did with John Harper many years ago. The Worst Team Money Can Buy. Great book. Did it do anything? Did you make a little money out of it?
Oh, it sure did. Look, I've done 6 books, and that was the first one that ever ended up on the New York Times bestseller list, and it was so much fun. What made that book so unique is that it was written in 1992 about the Mets, which was supposed to be a championship season. That was the year they signed Bobby Bonilla and Eddie Murray and Vince Coleman, and they picked up all these out-of-towners to sort of extend the dynasty, the mini dynasty the Mets had in the late 80s. It didn't happen, but they certainly had some really great teams. Those players aged out, Hernandez, Carter, and so they brought in all these out-of-towners, and they tried to mix it, just sort of try to recreate that with mercenaries, and it didn't work. So it was supposed to be a book about a championship season, turned into be a diary of how to run a franchise into the ground. But more than just a day-by-day of the 92 season, it was really looking at the life of a sports writer. And back then, it was pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-everything. The only way you could find out about a team or what was really going on in the clubhouse was through the newspapers. And so many friends would ask, well, what's Dwight Gooden like? What's Darryl Strawberry like? What's he really like? And John Harper and I was at the Daily News, and John was at the Post, and we ended up telling so many anecdotes about our life and what it was like behind the scenes, to our friends in the bars. And finally, Harp said to me one day, we're giving away all these great, colorful stories for free. Why don't we write a book about the life of a sports writer, what it's really like to be a sports writer in the modern day? And we found a publisher that loved it. It's Simon & Schuster, and it looked like it was going to be a great year for the Mets. And so we signed a contract. We were really excited about it. And the Mets got off to a terrible start. And 2 months in, it was clear they were not going to be a championship team. All the assumptions they made turned out to be wrong. And we went back to the publisher thinking that, we're going to have to give our money back. There was going to be no book. And the editor, his name was David Rosenthal, says, no. We're going to do a different book. And I've got the perfect name for it. The Worst Team Money Could Buy. And it turned out to be quite the bestseller because it was really a really, really close-up look, illustrative look of the life of sports media and the collapse of the New York Mets, how they went from being the best franchise in 1988 to the worst in 1992. And the book came out in April of 93. And what really sold the book, John, was the incident I had with Bobby Bonilla in the clubhouse in April of 93. And all you have to do is Google my name and Bobby Bonilla's, and you know that he and I went at it face-to-face, nose-tip to nose-tip, on the book, based on the book, And that turned it into a bestseller. So indirectly, Bobby launched my career as an author. So to him, I say thank you.
Yeah, that's the one where I remember this from that day, because I remember things like that because I love sports. But Bobby Bonilla said to you, "I'll show you the Bronx."
I'll show you the Bronx. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you the whole genesis of it.
Please.
Right before spring training, at the end of spring training in 1993, I went up to Jeff Torborg, who was the manager of the Mets at that time, and I said, Jeff, a book is coming out next week about the 92 season, and I just want to let you know, I want to give you the courtesy of a heads up. It is tough, but fair but tough. And he said, thank you, Bob. I appreciate the warning. I know how it is in this town. I can handle it. I can take it. We're fine. So I said, thank you, Jeff. Just don't take it personally. So a week later, the book comes out. Of course, the Mets management hated it. They were all in an uproar because we had basically exposed them as frauds they were. Second game of the year was a Saturday afternoon at Shea Stadium. And I walk in the clubhouse before the game, and Bonilla's at his locker. And he says to me loudly from across the room, well, look who just walked in here. The so-and-so is here, and guess what? You can blank my blank. And I'm thinking, whoa. Now, in all my years of covering baseball, I've never been spoken to that way. Not every player likes me, of course. It's just, it's one of the surcharges you pay as a sports writer. Eventually, you're going to make some enemies, but never like this. And he said, yeah, you heard me. Why don't you blank my blank? And I think this is pretty serious. Jay Horowitz, who was the media relations director at the time, realized we had a serious problem. Immediately cleared the clubhouse early. I mean, in those days, you could be in the clubhouse until an hour before first pitch. It was like 2 hours before first pitch. He said, clubhouse is closed. Everybody out. He wanted the situation to keep from exploding. So we all file out, go upstairs to the press box, and for the next 9 innings, everyone in the press box, all my friends in the press car said, are you going back down there after the game? Are you really going back down there? And I said, of course I am. I have to. I cannot let Bobby Bonilla chase me out of that room. That would be the worst decision of my life, professional life. So the game ends. The Mets lose to the Astros, and I go downstairs. And just before I walk in the clubhouse, I take a deep breath and say, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen now. And I step in the room, and Bonilla was waiting for me. He got from across the room. He sees me. He goes, well, look who's back. The so-and-so is back. I can't believe it. And now I walk in. I'm trying to ignore him. My plan is to ignore him and let this crisis flicker out on its own. Except I'm standing 3 feet away from him because Gooden's locker was right next to Bonilla's that year. We're talking to Gooden, who was a starting pitcher and lost. And Bonilla's right there. Literally, I could literally feel his breath on my neck, and he's just taunting me. Come on, man, make your move. Come on, man. And Gooden was really unnerved by this whole thing. I mean, he's really trying to conduct an interview, trying to ignore the situation. And it's so uncomfortable. That year, he had shaved his head bald. And he was so unnerved at one point, we were asking about some home run he allowed. He took out a brush and starts brushing his bald head, thinking, oh, man, this is really, really bad. And that's when Bonilla finally crossed the line. He says, come on, man, make your move because I'll hurt you. I said, yeah, are you threatening me? I went right up to him. He says, he called me a name that I just could not allow. I put the name, my notebook in my back pocket, circled around behind the group, and right up to him. I said, are you threatening me? And that's when he says, just like the homeboys say back home, we just chillin'. Now, Bobby didn't realize at that time there was a TV camera. There was a New York One TV camera in the room. This is the days before TVs were allowed in the clubhouse. They have since changed that rule. Obviously, there's now TV cameras everywhere in the clubhouse. But back then, there was no TV cameras. The cameras caught everything. And it was all over the newspapers the next day. Everyone separated us. Everyone got in between us. Nothing happened. Bonilla, at that point, when Jay Horowitz and all the clubhouse kids came in between us to make sure that there were fists thrown, he says, come on, man, I'll show you the Bronx right here. And it was all over the newspapers the next day. In retrospect, John, I realized that Bonilla really wasn't planning to throw a punch. I think he was trying to bait me into me throwing the first punch so he would have an excuse to have a fist fight. But the whole thing was, when he said, don't take it personally, don't take it personally. That was the last thing I said to Jeff Torborg. He had been put up to this thing by the Mets front office, including Torborg. And the idea was to embarrass me, intimidate me, get me to throw a punch and have a fist fight right there. They just didn't think it was going to be on TV. So it was in the newspapers the next day, everywhere. And that launched the career. That the next day, literally that week, the book went on the bestsellers list. So like I said, it helped me sell some books. It raised my profile, not the way I intended. But I did say that was probably the worst summer of my professional life because the Mets didn't talk to me. It was a bad year, bad team, really hateful of the press. Guys were freezing me out. And it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Ultimately, Bonilla and I made peace, but it took 6 years. He came back to the Mets in '99 after having been with the Orioles and the Dodgers. And at that point, Bobby Valentine was the manager. And this is spring training now in Port St. Lucie. And Valentine says, look, everything's okay. It's going to be fine between you and Bonilla. I've taken care of it. You two can speak to each other now. So that morning, everyone's on the field. All the players are on the field. All the reporters are on the field. It's just me and Bonilla. If he wanted to start with me again, John, there would have been nobody to get in between, just me and him. So I walk up to him. Again, I take a deep breath and say, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen now. Now he's at his locker, sitting down, tying his cleats. Without looking up at me, he sensed I was there. Without looking up at me, he says, you know, man, sometimes you wish you'd go back and do things over, but you can't, so you just move on. And without looking at me, he gave me his hand, and we shook. Without saying another word, without ever making contact, that was as close as he could come to saying he was sorry, which I accepted, and we're now friends. Crazy it was, we became friends after that. And that's the saga of of that book and my career as an author.
Well, people who are listening to this is a sentence. Get the book. The worst team money could buy with Klapisch and Harper. I'm telling you, you will swallow the book. You'll love it so much. It really is that. It really is that great a book. And I read as much as anyone you can name. You know, there's some monk up in the top of some castle. He is writing and reading. I honestly, I read as much. You will love this book. Bob, stay right there. We have to take a break, sell a few things, and then we'll get back more with Bob Klapisch in just a moment on 77 WABC.
The John Sterling Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm going to get right back to him as Bob Klapisch, who has been a top-flight sports writer, columnist in this city for, I guess, almost 40 years. Am I right? Almost 40 years? Did we lose him? We did lose him. Okay. We're going to call him back. Something happened. I don't know what, but we will call him back. And the story about Bonilla was great, wasn't it? And I'm not kidding you about the book. That book is that good. I'm going to bring something up to him when we return. That I remember. He's there? Okay. So Bob is back. I had brought it up that you've been writing in the city for almost 40 years. Am I right?
That is correct. Yep. Yep, I am the senior member of the press corps right now. As crazy as it seems.
I'm the senior member of the broadcast crew. I don't think anyone's 87. You know what got me on the book, and I'd love you to talk about it. At the very, very beginning, you write, and I've read the book, but I have to put it in my own words. But you said being a sports writer takes the joy out of being a baseball fan. Can you remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It kills a fan in you. I think that's the second part of that sentence. I mean, you just can't root. I mean, I love baseball. I've been following it. I play it. I've written about it. I've studied it almost my entire life. But there's certain things you have to give up once you become a member of the media. Once you go from the stands or sitting in front of your TV to the press box, and that is the rooting interest. I told people, I tell this to journalism classes all the time, I used to be a huge Yankee fan. There was one point I was actually a Mets fan. I've gone back and forth in my life. But at this point, I don't care if they win or lose. I really don't. I cannot be emotionally invested in the wins and losses. There are certain players I've liked along the way. I could name the 10 best guys I've ever met. And including this bunch today, there's some really nice guys in that Yankee clubhouse who are just, it's nice to see them do well. Aaron Judge is obviously one of them. But whether the Yankees win the World Series or whether they lose the World Series, it does not affect me professionally or emotionally. I had people say last year, boy, you must be upset the Yankees lost. I really don't feel that way. I just can't have those feelings. And that's just the deal you have to make with the profession, that you have to give up caring whether they win or lose. You're there to report the story, hopefully get good games, exciting series, the pennant races to write about, because they're the most fun. And winning clubhouses are usually more cooperative. It's easy to interview players when they're winning and they're happy. But do I personally get upset when they lose? Do I get to enjoy the fun and the agony of being a fan? All of that has been strained out. It's a professional endeavor. It's a professional emotional investment now, as opposed to a personal one.
Well, also, you make the point that a great finish to a game where they tie it up, you have to write a whole new lead. And it is very different when you're doing it on an everyday basis. And was it easier, quote unquote, in the old days when they accepted the media more? Now they don't accept the media at all. For example, I never can recall going into the Braves clubhouse and wondering, am I allowed in at a certain time? Everyone just walked in and did their business, whatever their business is.
It's a completely different industry, John, than the one I started in, the one you knew back in the 80s. I mean, it's just older writers wouldn't recognize what it is today, and young writers today would be shocked to see what the game used to be like, what reporting used to be like. You're right. Access was unlimited back then. It was so casual that you were sort of on the honor system. You just knew what time to leave. I mean, there was one time I think it was in 86 or 87, in the Met Clubhouse. It was, again, a 1 o'clock game, and I was supposed to be out by noon, but I was in a long conversation with Ron Darling, who I've known since college. We played against each other at college. In college, I was at Columbia. He was at Yale, and we were just friends. And I looked up. It was 12:40, 20 minutes before game time, and Darling and I were still talking. Davey Johnson walks in. He goes, "Clap, you were supposed to be out of here an hour ago, 45 minutes ago." And he says, "Look, I got to talk." I proceeded to have a quick meeting before the game, and he says, "Look, just stay, forget it, just stay." So I stayed in the meeting. That would never happen today. If I was in that clubhouse 1 minute after the access time ended in the Yankee clubhouse, I would be arrested.
Well,
and I'm not even joking about that. I would be escorted out by those two ex-cops who are the security guys, and I would be held to the holding station. Right.
Right.
So yeah, everything has changed. Everything has changed.
Yeah, it really is to be. And I guess the reason is, as I mentioned before, I guess they feel they don't need the media very much. Well, they don't, John. Like early on, the only access fans had was to the newspapers, was through the newspapers, and that was it. That was it. And now they have all kinds of outlets, and they have their own Instagram accounts. The Yankees have their own Instagram accounts. Their social media has basically replaced newspapers as in terms of direct one-on-one contact with the fans. So the fans don't need the players don't need to talk to us as much. And they have now elaborate layout in the clubhouse, private rooms where they can hide out from us, so the media is not allowed. So you go in that clubhouse an hour before the game, 2 hours before the game. There's nobody at their locker. It's really hard to get a one-on-one audience these days with a player before the game, and that never used to be the case. No, not at all. I can tell you that in the Yankee clubhouse where you think the players are, then there's a sign, no media past this point. Well, past this point is where all the players are. And
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendously different. I have a baseball question to ask you. And the reason I'm asking it is because I want to know, why is Chisholm playing third and LeMahieu playing second, whereas Chisholm has a lot more range, and at second, you need a lot more range. Booney has said, well, I wanted LeMahieu at second, where he's very familiar and very comfortable. You think that's the reason?
It looks that way. I mean, look, they've got to make some choices as to what they're going to do at third base. There's no question that Chisholm is at second base. He's a better athlete. He's younger. He's quicker. His fast switch muscles are superior. His fast switch reflexes are superior to LeMahieu's. And I think they wanted to give LeMahieu every last chance to prove that he still has something left to offer. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. He just is not even close to the hitter he used to be in this last gasp effort. It doesn't look like it's working out. They need more offense. They got shut out again today. It looks like it's going to be a race after all in the East, and they just need another bat. So I think I could foresee some move at the trade deadline for a third baseman to move Chisholm to second base, which defensively is the better move, and I think would help Chisholm as well. And who knows, if they pick up another bat at third base, I think overall the offense would benefit from it.
I agree, and I like LeMahieu very, very much. I told the story on the air how he picked up my bag when I was going up the stairs of a flight, and I don't go up great. Come down okay, but I don't go up great, and he carried my bag all the way to my seat at the end of the plane, so I root for him, but he's not hitting a lot of ground balls. No. So, Bob, thank you for coming on. You were terrific, and because you were terrific, I can't wait to have you on again, and we'll see what happens in the baseball season, but we're going to have a lot of questions to ask. So, anyway, I thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Look forward to the next time.
Okay, we shall do it. And Vinny Madunio is coming up next with his music. Great music from Vinny. And I'll see you back on Saturday from 4 to 5. We do our little show here at 77 WABC.
Thanks for listening to The John Sterling Show. You can hear The John Sterling Show Saturdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?